So how do you find a good company to work for? That's an interesting question. That's going to take a little bit of work. You might be able to you might be lucky and just apply somewhere and get a job the first shot, but you may not. And since this is your only apprenticeship, if you're going to serve 2, 3, 4 years in apprenticeship, I would suggest you put a little effort into making sure you're working at a good company and find a good company to work with, because that's going to depend on the quality of your education and what you learn. Do you learn shoddy work, or do you learn how to do bad work, or do you learn how to do good work and quality work? Does that make sense? And craftsmanship. You want to make sure you work for a good company. So there's some things you can do that will really help you out with that. So first of all, we got to get a list of companies that are hiring. So, and I just said list. I would get a piece of notebook paper out. I get a notebook, and this is your job. Your job is to find a job, and so I'd take it seriously. If you were going to go to college, would you not research some colleges and figure out which one you wanted to go to, right? So same thing. You're looking for a place that's going to teach you the skills that are going to serve you really well and take care of you, and you're going to make a lot of money doing this. So let's put a little bit of energy into this. So first of all, I would suggest a list of 20. That may sound like a lot, but let's come up with 20 companies that you want to work at. There's a couple things you can do. You can go to Craigslist. Craigslist still works. Companies still put ads there. You can go to Indeed, and there's Monster, and there's other job ones. I always put my ads on Indeed. So you can find out who's actually got, looking for an apprentice. But now let's work on the quality side. How do you find out the good companies in your area? There's a couple easy ways to do it, actually. And that is, remember we talked about the trade supply houses. Like all the plumbing companies get their plumbing supplies from a supply house. And so in my area, in Seattle, there's Keller Supply, there's Consolidated Supply, there's Morgan's. There's a couple more. But there'll be several supply houses in your area. And what you want to do is you could call them up and say, hey, I want to be an apprentice plumber, for instance. And I'm wondering if you know anybody's hiring, or who should I want to work for? Is there a good company that I should work for that does good training and does good work? I want to work for a good company. And they'll tell you, you know why? They know everybody. All the plumbers come to the supply houses, and so they know, do guys come in grumpy? Do the guys come in positive? Do the guys come in with apprentices? Do they come in sloppy and dirty and muddy? Or do they come in uniform and dressed and with pride and walk with their shoulders back and take pride in their work? The supply houses know. So that was one thing at my company when I'd walk in and talk to supply houses, that I would say, your guys are always positive. You guys, all your guys are nice and well-spoken and look good, and they're never complaining. They got a good attitude. And they actually told me if I wanted to post a job listing at the supply house, I could. And I never did, because I didn't want to have all of a sudden all the different plumbing companies doing it. Does that make sense? But if anybody would have gone to supply houses when I was running my company, if anybody would have went to my supply houses and asked, who should I work for? Where should I go to serve my apprenticeship? They would have told you, work for Dennis. It's just true. That's what would have happened. So you can either call and go to the supply and ask the supply house, or you can go in. I really suggest going in person. And now that you've got a resume, you could go in person and ask that same question. Hey, I am interested in serving in an apprenticeship. I want to become a plumber. who should I work for? Who should I work for and who is hiring? And they'll tell you. And then you can even ask, can I leave my resume here? Can I leave it on the counter? Because what happens is plumbers come in. Plumbers and they'll come in and look at the resume. Oh, this looks interesting. And they'll start talking. And it's a small community. The trade, your trade, is bigger than you can imagine, and it's smaller than you can imagine at the same time. It's pretty tight. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows what's going on. So I would suggest that, leaving your resume at the counter. Another thing to do is associations. Every trade has an association. In plumbing, it's the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of America, PHCC. And if you're getting into heating and air conditioning, HVAC, they've got their group, I think it's called ACCA. It's Air Conditioning Contractors of America, ACCA, ACCA. And if you just Google them in your state, every state's got an association, and same thing, you can give them a phone call and say, hey, I'm interested in serving an apprenticeship. I want to be a licensed plumber, for instance. And do you know anybody that's hiring, or do you know who I should talk to? And they will. Or they can get the word out. And you can even ask, hey, can I send you my my resume? And they'll say, sure. And they'll be so impressed that you've got your resume and it says a little pledge that you're going to show up on time and bring your lunch and be in uniform and shower every day, save 10% of your paycheck, go to any trainings available to you. Remember that pledge that we talked about? They'll be so impressed, and they'll start calling around and saying, hey, who needs an apprentice? I had this young guy came in, he's really sharp. This young lady come in, really sharp. And they'll find a place for you. So that's another thing to do. And then here's what I do. Off of all this work, I'd start a list. And so you've got a list of some people, and then you can also Google and say plumbing contractors near me, right? And you can look at the big ones and look at some smaller ones. And I would choose a 5-mile radius to start. You don't have to drive a long ways to find a good company, typically. And maybe you will in your situation, but I would start with a 5-mile radius. The less time you're in the car, the better. Now, I do have some tricks to make your drive time productive, but there's probably a good company and good plumbers that are looking for a good apprentice near you. So why not go that route? So make a list of 20 companies, and then the ones that you've heard good things about, put on the top of the list. Like, oh, these companies are the ones that everybody says. If you go to 3 or 4 supply houses, you're going to start hearing the same thing. This is the company that's got the reputation for good training and stuff like that. Put them on the top of the list. That's probably who you want to work for. Now start on the bottom. So this is what you do. The company you don't even know about, but you just found them online, you're going to make a phone call. You're going to go on their website and you're going to contact them and say, and find a place to send your resume in. You're even going to ask for an interview. You might drop it. You might call and ask for an interview. You might drive there and drop in and drop off your resume in person. Here's the thing about the trades that is kind of interesting. A lot of the trades are run, a lot of companies are run by plumbers, technicians. And so they're busy. They're busy and they got stuff going on. And so they don't always get to their emails or that kind of thing. And so sometimes going in person and talking to the office person, the dispatcher or the receptionist goes a long way. They get to see you. You seem friendly. You were dressed nice. You had a little resume packet. You were well spoken, and they'll go to bat for you. So they might have an apprentice that they don't like, someone that's showing up late and always dirty, looks like he just rolled out of bed, and they may not be looking for someone, but if they compare that person to you, they might start saying, hey, why did we got this guy around? This kid come in and he seemed really well spoken. He had his resume. Look at his resume. doesn't have any experience, but he's wrote this pledge out. He's got this pledge that he signed about he'll come in to work early and all this stuff. So there's ways to get the receptionist, the dispatcher, the people that answer the phone on your side. And you can absolutely do that. Here's why I want you to start at the bottom of the list, though. I want you to start at the bottom because you're going to start to get a feel, an impression of the different companies. And you don't want to go in. Let's say there's a company in town like mine was that is the place to work. You don't want your first interview, your first phone interaction to be with me. What if you're new and nervous and rough and stammer around and don't present yourself very well, right? So you want to start with someone you don't really care about and go through the whole rigmarole, the whole thing. Make the phone call, email your resume in, call and ask for an interview, drop off your resume, and then hopefully you'll get some interviews. Wouldn't that be cool? Go and interview and see what it's like. See what is it clean? Is it organized? Do they have a routine? Do they have a lot of companies are just winging it. They have no processes at all. At my company, I had a little application for you to fill out, a little skills test for you to fill out, a little questionnaire to fill out. I had a whole bunch of stuff. So you're going to get a feel for these companies. So start at the bottom where you don't care and practice. Go in and see what it feels like and say, oh, the third interview was much more organized and seemed they actually had a lot to offer compared to the first one, right? And so you keep doing this. And it's like, wow, 20 interviews? Hey, you only get one apprenticeship. Let's get this right. Does that make sense? You'd put this kind of energy, you'd put more than a week into looking for the right college to go to. So just take 1 week and search 20 different companies and get a flavor and a feel for what's going on. And you might be attracted to one where someone else might be attracted to another. So, but you figure that out. So get a list of 20, start at the bottom, put the ones that everybody talked about at the top, and then work your way up. And when you get up to the top, you might discover, wow, no wonder everybody's talking about them. This is where I want to work, right? And then now that you've got all this experience under your belt and exposure to the different shops and all that kind of stuff, you're gonna go in there and you're gonna be well spoken. You're gonna be organized. You're gonna know what you like and what you don't like. You're gonna have good questions. You're gonna have good questions to ask, which will be impressive. I often would ask, "What questions do you have for me?" And most people had no questions. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So have some questions to ask. So it's going to make you look so good. So that's the way. You find a good company that is hiring. And here's the little trick. And most companies don't know this, but good companies will understand that when they find a good person, they just hire them. Because there's always room for a good person. And so I would do that. Once in a while, I'd hire a good person and I know, okay, I've got too many apprentices. It's gonna force me to let someone go. But I was always I was leveling up my apprenticeship levels. I had really good apprentices, and one way I would do that was if I had a really good kid come in, I'd bring him on, and then we'd be like, oh, we got too many apprentices, and the apprentices would know that, and so everybody would step up their game and do their best. And it usually worked out. But sometimes it made, we'd let someone go. And my core of apprentices would get better and better and better. And that was one of the secrets to my success. So a good company will know if they find a sharp person like you, they're going to hire you. All right, go get them. And if you have any questions, I'd love you to go to my school community. If you go to... If you follow me, My Dentistry Apprentice on Instagram, there's a link for my school community, and that's where motivated, sharp, interested apprentices, sales techs, that's where we meet and talk, and I have live meetings all the time helping you get more out of your apprenticeship. So go there and check us out. And you're going to learn that what is it? Birds of a feather flock together, that kind of thing. Yeah. People like to hang out with good people, and there's lots of them there, and I'm sure you are a good person. So let's do this.